Hey there everybody, CJ here, your local friendly technology addict, and this is the Tech Addict's Attic. You're getting a very special view of my work area. I normally would not share this in as much of a mess as it is right now, but honestly, this is actually pretty clean compared to what it was 2 months ago. You have no idea. But that's not what this video is about. What this video is about is what we've got going on back here. So, the power supply on the bottom I'm not using at the moment. The frequency generator up there I'm not using. But that guy way up there, that's my frequency counter. And I've got it fed with this 50 ohm coax, which is a little long, so I've got it wrapped around to the back. Got it teed in at the oscilloscope there. Okay? And you can see that I've got the oscilloscope probe coming out yonder. Now, why do I have all this? Well, I've been sitting here trying to figure out Bob and the CTCSS tones. And you know what, that's a mouthful to say, so I'm just going to say PL tones, much as we may hate that term. But I've been trying to figure out the PL tones on this thing because they're not documented anywhere. Now, Baofeng, theirs are documented. There's a couple of different websites where you can get the information. And I do suspect, I do not know for a fact, but I suspect that the Blackview is using the Baofeng frequencies. Be that as it may, I have tried using, these Cobra micro-talk radios. I've tried using a patch cable to go into my laptop. I've got an application on there that allows me to read CTCSS, but the problem with that is that it requires the CTCSS be audible. And of course, all of my radios filter it out. So you know what I was thinking? My kids have these cheapy little walkie-talkies that just happen to be FRS channel 5. Certainly, a toy this cheap won't filter out PL tones. Well, you would think, but unfortunately they do. Well, I got to thinking, of all the radios that I can take apart, I have not taken these apart yet. And so I decided to take these apart. And they are incredibly simple inside. We have just a single board with basically nothing on the backside other than a couple of solder points and an LED. We have a simple antenna. I did some measurements with my calipers, and this is actually right about a half wavelength coiled up. But the important little piece of information is that I decided to go poking around in here with my oscilloscope probe while transmitting with my Baofeng. And I discovered that that pin right there, what would typically be base on what I would assume to be a transistor, if that were a transistor. I don't know, it may or may not be, but that little pin right there, which ties in with this pair of discretes there, comes out to here and touches that pin there, actually gives us the PL tone. I did a couple of different tests, and sure enough, that's what it is. Now, I'm going to show you something here. HandyDandy feature I absolutely love about this scope is that I've got a cursor, these two vertical lines here, and I can measure with those cursors the frequency. So you can see when I get it turned on and I get it plugged in and all of that, you'll see the frequency. So give me a second here to set all this up. Let me zoom that back out. So you're going to see how I've got this going here. I'm going to plug this back into my scope lead so that I can get a return signal to the chassis of the scope. We want to connect it to the battery negative, because that is basically reference ground for the entire circuit here that we're measuring. And what I did is I made up, you can see over here, there's a 2.5 millimeter TRRS connector going to a 4-wire that I've got going into the breadboard. When I plug it into the Cobra radio, in that little jack there, I can short 2 of these pins and I can get it to transmit, which I don't know if we'll be able to get that on camera, but no, I don't think we will. There's a tiny little antenna icon here that will show, forget it. So what will happen is I'll move this over here to transmit. Oh, and by having that in there, I'm also not connecting a microphone. It's low power, and there's nobody on the frequency. I've been sitting here listening to it. And we're going to actually aim this back up so you can see the result. Now remember that those 2 cursors there on that screen, that cursor and then that cursor, are 68 Hertz. And we'll also see 68 up here. I'm going to touch that pin of the transistor that we were talking about. And granted, the waveform moves around a little bit, but there's no denying that's 68 Hertz. And you can see up on the frequency counter it's 67, 68, bouncing between the two, 69. But we're pretty sure, though, that's a 68 Hertz PL tone. Now, that's frequency number 1, or CTCSS number 1, on the Cobra. We're going to set that to 38. And now we'll see what we get. Set that in. We'll plug him back in. And this is just a demonstration to show that I do have definitively the appropriate lead to determine CTCSS. Okay, now we're transmitting again. I'm going to find the lead again, and this time I will have to adjust my scope. I see 248, 227, 251, 252. Let's see what this says. We're going to change our time division. It's bouncing around quite a bit, but I think that's closer to a center, and that's closer to a center. So it looks like that's reading 274 Hertz, give or take. And up here we're seeing 250, 249, 250. So granted, with that moving around, that bouncing around as much as it is, I don't really trust the scope. But that frequency counter being so close, relatively speaking, 38, well, let's see what CTCSS 38 is for a Cobra. I'm going to bring my phone back up. And let's see, Cobra is this first column here beside the frequencies, and we're looking for number 38. And 38 is 250.3. That one right there by my thumb, 250.3. So I'd say, without doubt, that I have found the pin that will tell me the CTCSS code. Now, I've got 50 of these things to go through. So it's going to take me a little while. And while you know that I can put out a pretty long video, I'll save you the trouble this time. But I just wanted to let you all know that, hey, I've stumbled across something here, and I'm going to continue on, but this time I'm going to use the phone. Now, just for grins and giggles, I do already have FRS channel 5 in here. We're going to edit that, and you can see I'm going to put this on 1. Now, we already know 1 is 68, okay? We'll save that. Come back over here to intercom. Now, still FRS channel 5. I'm going to bring this back up here, and we're going to look at that again. And there's a reason why I want to show you this, because I've already discovered. Let me go ahead and key this up. And the frequency counter is saying well, earlier it was reading as low as 64, which of course is no good, but it also went back up to 67, and you saw here it went as high as 74. It's not exactly stable, okay? Our phones, our Blackviews, are not, maybe not the best devices for this, but I mean, obviously they work, at least well enough, but you know, it is what it is. I'm going to go ahead and try to get as many of these codes as I can. I'm going to try to be as accurate as I can. And of course, there's some of those that I had on that other video that, you know, they just didn't line up or whatever. And of course, the other ones where I had 2 or 3 different ones popping up. So I think it's all related. But I'll do what I can, and I'll probably even make a document. I'll make a spreadsheet on Google Sheets, put it on my Google Drive, and I'll share a link to that in this video when I get it up. But for now, I just want to let you guys know, those of you who are looking for these frequencies, yeah, I'm going to try to help you out, because they help me out too. So until next time, keep an eye on those descriptions, and look for the link to show up in there. And I'll get it up there as soon as I can. It may not be tonight. It's already 10:30, 10:45 almost, and I'm already having trouble talking. So until next time, this is CJ, your local friendly technology addict, signing off.